Now we're going to create a string program, call it strings.py. Press enter. The first thing we're going to create is two different types of string. A string with a double quote and a string with a single quote. The first string, or the first name, first underscore name equals, call Johnny. And then this one has double quotes. And now we're going to the last name. And this one is going to have single quote. Let's call it meta. Johnny Meta. We're going to save the program. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to print the type so that you guys can see that both are considered strings according to Python. Then we type in type, and then we type in first name. So this is the first name. We're going to copy this and paste this right underneath it. We're going to put in last name, press enter. Now we're going to print it. As you can see, the program says they're both considered string. So we're printing both of these values right here. So this and this are both considered string. Now we're going to talk about how you can escape quote. So if you're writing a word like doesn't, for example, doesn't has a comma inside of it. You want to escape the quote. So how do you do it? We're going to say text1. Let's call this text1 equals, and we'll call this doesn't like this. As you can see, it's giving us an error because we haven't escaped the quote. The way you can escape it is with this slash right here. And then also another way is to use double quotes when you want to use words that have quotes inside of them. So we can write the same thing. And now because we use the double quotes, you can write doesn't and there's no problem. So once we print, let's print one of them. We're going to print text number 1. And print. Here you go. Doesn't shows up properly. And it's going to be the same thing for the one underneath it. So just text like this. Doesn't. We can also write multiline strings by using the slash and n. Multi-string equals first line, and then we're going to escape, then press N for the next line, second line. And we're going to print the multi-string. So we can see, so the first line, as you can tell guys, the first line is on the first line, the second line is on the second line. That little space is because I put a space right here. Strings can also be indexed. So essentially a string is also an array of characters that are put together. Let me give you guys an example. So let's say we have long text. Let's call this text computer. So the word computer is inside of this. Okay, we can actually print each character inside of this word because the strings are actually kind of like arrays. So here's an example. Long text, and this is how you fetch data inside of an array. So this here is basically telling me to grab the first letter or the first character inside of this text, which is 0. So the way the computer count is 0 to infinity. So 0 to infinity and then -1 to infinity negative. So over here, C is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then R is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8. Let's print this so we can see the letter C. And then if we go -1, it should print the letter R. Here you go, the letter R. Because the string is an array, there's many things you can do. A lot of the things that you can do in an array, you can also do with a string. Let's say we want to get characters from position 0 to 2. So we can write 0 to 2 this way. And here you go. So 0 to 2. 0 to 2. 2, like before 2. This means right before 2. 0, right before 2. So 0, 1, and then it stops at 2. If you want to get the length of a text, you can simply type len and then the name of the text, the variable that contains the text, and that will give you the amount of letters that's contained inside of this variable. Another thing you can do with strings, you can actually multiply them. Let's say we have a variable here called vary equals 3 times yeah, 3 times yeah plus O. So now we're going to print what is vary. So vary is right here. Let's print this out. As you can see, it multiplied the yeah 3 times, yeah, and it combined it with the O. The action that we just did here, adding 2 strings together, is called concatenate. Concatenate are glued together. When you put strings close to each other like this, vary, let's call it vary2, equals O, and then you put another string right beside it, Oyo. Now let's print it. You see, what happens is the string essentially combined, they just glued themselves to each other. The same thing also happens if you put a plus sign right between them. Oyo. So it's exactly the same thing. You can also combine variables and just strings. Variables that contain strings. So this variable here, we can combine it with another string by just calling it, let's say, another string. Let's call this another string. And we run our program. You combine this variable that contains strings inside of it with this string that I just put inside the print statement. Another thing we can also do is strip all the white spaces before and after a string. Let's say we write string, we create a variable called string with space. With space, I'm going to create a string here before and after. So this string currently has a space before and after the string itself. Let's print this before and after, string before and after, string with space. Okay, let's print this out. If you want to get rid of that space, all you gotta do is after this variable, you put a dot, and once you put a dot, a bunch of methods will pop up. And one of the methods is called strip. What strip will do is actually get rid of all the white spaces and combine them together. And here you go. So the white spaces that were in front and before and after the actual string disappear. Another cool method that comes with the string is lower. All the lower method does is just it returns the string into lowercase. So let's write after in capital letters, and let's press play. As you can see, it turned this variable, this string, into lower. The same thing also happened with upper. What upper does is exactly the opposite. So now let's type in after. Let's save it and let's run a program. Before and after. As you can see, now it's all capital letters or uppercase letters. Another method you can use is replace. Replace. Replace will just replace things that are inside the string itself. Let's say we want to replace this B here with an S. So we will type in B, and the letter that we want to replace it with is called S. And now we'll run our program. Now before became C4 and after. We can also run a method called capitalize. It will capitalize the first letter of your string, as you can see here. And if you want to know how many times a letter inside of your string repeats itself, you can actually look for the count method and type in the letter that you want to see that's being repeated. Let's try the letter E, and let's run a program. The letter E is being repeated 3 times inside of our string. Let's count 1, 2, 3, which is true. You can also search for a specific string value. Let's say we're looking for a certain word inside of our string. We can type in find, and then let's find the word before. And it tells you which index the word before starts at. So right now the word before starts at index 0. So now I try to find the word after. Now we're going to type in after, save it. Now the word after starts at index 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. And if you want to convert the first letter of each word into a capital, you can also call in the method title. And let's press before and after. The next thing we're going to look at is formatting, string formatting. If you want to format a string literal, just a string by itself, you can use something called an F string. Car equals Nissan. And then year make equals 1999. Let's turn this into a integer. There you go, 1999. And let's say we want to display this information in a terminal. All you gotta do is type in F, the letter F, and then you start writing in, you do a squiggly bracket, the car that you want was made in year make. So type in year make, and we close the squiggly bracket. Now we press the program, and here it is. The Nissan that you want was made in 1999. So we combine them and we format it using the F string. We can also format it even more further by using other format statements. For example, let's say you have 2 parties that are voting. There's yes votes. Let's say there's these many votes. And then there's no votes. No votes. And then there's this many votes. Now we gotta find the percentage. Percent equals yes vote divided by yes vote plus no vote. No votes. This here will be our percentage. This is another way to actually format your text. You just do a curly bracket. Again, yes votes. So this is how you actually format. You just press, again, dot, and then format. The first value you just type in the first value, the first variable that should be here. You just type it in the first side. And then if you want the second value, you just put a comma. And we're going to say %. Okay, and this is the comma. Oh, let's print this out and see what we will get. So we got, there's these many yes votes, and this is the percentage. Now we can further format these values by adding this inside of the curly bracket. Let's just press play and see what it does, and then I'll explain to you guys what it does. So you can format these little squiggly bracket by adding these type of data inside of it. These are basically formatting settings, and there's a big list in all of the settings that you can actually format strings.